Hello everybody, this is Lara with an update for you for XRP and Bitcoin. XRP I'll do Elliott Wave and technical, and Bitcoin I'll just be doing technical because Elliott Wave, you can get it if you want it. You have to get it on my website. There is a link in the description box below. And before I forget, because I always forget, don't I? If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button and like this video. Helps out my little YouTube channel. And I'm going to be giving you, as a CMT, Chartered Market Technician, free analysis of cryptocurrencies, mostly XRP and Bitcoin, but as alt season comes into play, I'll be also giving you analysis of others from time to time because I've got a whole bunch of investments in these markets myself. So if you want expert, qualified, free analysis of these markets, then you should subscribe. That's a good idea. Free is good, isn't it? Looking at XRP, it's starting to move higher. It's not making new all-time highs, but it is moving higher with an increase in volume and volatility, and it's breaking out of this little channel that contains this bearish movement that lasted 12 weeks, one short of a Fibonacci 13. So my main Elliott Wave count for XRP, I'm just going to go over the weekly. If you look back, I think the last time I did a video for this one, I think I went over the monthly chart with all of the price data of the entire price history of it. It's very, very bullish. I'm seeing a cycle degree third wave unfolding within that. Primary wave 3 is going to be nearing its middle. If you know your Elliott Wave degrees, you'll know that what I've just said is extremely bullish. If these targets are going to be wrong, they may not be high enough. My target for primary 3 uses 14.72. That is a previous ratio between a previous third and first wave. That's not a Fibonacci ratio. I get that from the monthly chart. Again, if you want to see that, you've got to click through and have a look at the last video I did for this one. So previously, within cycle 1, its primary 3 was 14.72, the length of its primary 1. If we see that relationship here again within cycle 3, then a target for primary 3 would be $27.44. That target might not be high enough though. Within primary 3, I have this wave count as intermediate 1 and 2 complete, intermediate 3 underway. When it arrives, intermediate 4 should be a brief shallow consolidation over in maybe 6 months and may not move into intermediate 1 price territory, and it should remain well above that price point. Intermediate 3 also may only subdivide as an Elliott Wave impulse, and I have 1 and 2 complete, now 3 to move higher. The target for this is using a Fibonacci ratio. 6.854 is for a normal market an extreme Fibonacci ratio. For a cryptocurrency, probably woefully inadequately low. So these targets, if they're wrong, they're not going to be high enough. The target for minor 3, conservatively calculated at 22.29. Minor 4, when it arrives, may not move into wave 1 price territory, and there's usually a huge gap between fourth and first waves. Like this, you see this little triangle for minute 4 here, remained well above first wave price territory back down here. There's usually a huge gap, particularly for this market. Minor wave 2, I have as a double zigzag complete in 12 weeks. Minor wave 3, in its early stages, as soon as it moves beyond the end of 1, I'll pull the invalidation point up to the start of minor wave 3, but it's premature to do that for XRP today. Let's take a look at the structure at the daily time frame. The high of minor 1 is off to the left of the chart. Here we're looking at the end of minor 2, and now minute wave 1 and minute wave 2 are zigzag within the early stages of minor 3. So now the wave count has minute, minor, intermediate, primary and cycle degrees. Third waves at 5 degrees, including primary and cycle. This is an extremely, extremely bullish Elliott Wave count. I've long been bullish on XRP, and it looks like that bullishness is finally starting again to unfold. We're seeing an increase in momentum, an increase in volume and range. And we're also starting to see this typical curved look with a slow start and acceleration through the middle, and I'll expect explosions at the end of minor 3, intermediate 3, primary 3 and cycle 3. That's typical behavior for cryptocurrencies when they exhibit this exponential-like growth, and they have those exponential growth curves or something pretty close to it on their charts. Minute wave 2 I have as a single zigzag, leading contracting diagonal for A, flat or some kind of combination for B complete here, and C move below the end of A. For the short term, at the daily time frame, I will pull the invalidation point up to the start of minute 3, No second wave correction within it, may move beyond its start below 1.6120. We can have confidence that minute wave 2 is complete now that the channel about it is clearly breached. Let's look at some technicals for XRP, just at the daily. It's moving higher. Actually, has it made a new high? The high here is 2.6493 and the high back here 2.6580. So no, it hasn't quite made a new high. I expect it's probably going to do so imminently because this increase in volume and range looks really bullish. So it's testing resistance about 2.65. I expect it's probably going to break through quite quickly and cleanly, but when it gets up to about 3.32 to 3.4, that previous all-time high, that's going to be really strong resistance. So I will expect some consolidation or a pullback to develop about this area of resistance here. The moving average situation is overall bullish with the short above the mid, which is below the long. They all have a positive slope. We had a death cross back here and it was followed by downward movement. If the purple 50-day moving average crosses above the green 200-day moving average, that would be a golden cross and negate the death cross. These are, I give these the least weight in my analysis. Death cross, golden cross, it sounds really bad, really good, and a lot of people hang a lot onto them, but because these are moving averages of long durations, 50 and 200 days, they're lagging indicators because they're based on averages of past data. So the best way to use a death cross and a golden cross is not to hang too much on it, but you use them as a lagging confirmatory tool of the rest of your analysis. Does it agree and confirm, or does it disagree and tell you something might be off? And so just because we haven't got a golden cross yet, I'm not going to read this as bearish at all. Because price is above all the averages and all the averages are sloping up, I'm going to read this as overall a bullish look, supporting my Elliott Wave count. Volume is starting to push price higher. I can't make a conclusion for this session because it's incomplete, but for the last 3 sessions, price has been moving higher with steadily increasing volume. These movements do tend to start out slow, accelerate through the middle, and explode at the end. So just because this volume is weaker than this previous upward volume here, doesn't give cause for concern. ADX has risen up from a low level below 15 and from below both DX lines. The positive DX line is above the negative DX line. The ADX line is now above 15 with a positive slope. This is a full bore bullish look. This is the strongest bullish signal ADX can give and strongly supports the Elliott Wave count. RSI is overbought, but this can get deeply overbought. It can remain there for quite a long period of time and exhibit multiple bearish divergence before the upward trend is in danger of ending. Because ADX is telling us the trend is in such an early stage, I will wait until ADX gets very extreme and RSI and money flow are extreme and exhibiting bearish divergence before I consider this trend could be in danger of ending. Just because RSI is overbought today does not mean this new upward trend cannot continue. In fact, I will expect it to do so. Money flow isn't overbought yet. ATR just finally starting to show an increase as volatility returns to the market. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is breaking out to new all-time highs. So it's leading the cryptocurrency pack, and it's probably going to continue to do so until they finally catch up. Look for support now if we see a pullback about 112,000. This upward breakout was a clear close to a new all-time high above previous all-time highs back from May on an upward session which has a strong support from volume. This is extremely bullish and supports my Elliott Wave analysis for Bitcoin and those huge targets I've got for Bitcoin, which I've had for a long time. Volume is starting to increase, pushing price higher. This is really good to see. Again, cryptocurrency movements do tend to start out slow, accelerate through the middle, and explode at the end. So just because this volume here is not yet stronger than this volume is not cause for concern. We cannot draw a conclusion from this volume bar because this is an incomplete session. On balance volume very recently gave us a very reasonable, not very strong, but quite a reasonable bullish signal. This yellow resistance line has, I count 5 tests. So there's 2 here and 1, 2, I'll count this as well. So 5 tests, a little bit of a slope, fairly long held. As on balance volume broke above that resistance line, that gave us a strong bullish signal. And look, it came the day before price broke out to new all-time highs. On balance volume will do that, so use it really carefully. Wait for it to form a range, draw all your support and resistance lines, and watch for a signal as it breaks above resistance, bullish, below support, bearish, and sometimes that will happen just before price breaks out. So it's one of the very few technical analysis methods that can sometimes, not always, sometimes give you advance warning of the direction of a breakout for price. That's really valuable information, and it gave it to us yesterday. ADX is at a really low level. It's still below 15, so it's too low to indicate a trend, but at the daily time frame, if ADX reaches 15, it's going to be rising up from low levels and below both DX lines. That'll give us the strongest signal ADX can give. So if it reaches 15 and the positive DX line is still above the negative, that's going to be the strongest bullish signal ADX can give and would strongly support my Elliott Wave analysis for Bitcoin. RSI is overbought, but only just. I will not continue, I won't consider this divergence. You have to wait for a pivot to develop. Here's a pivot, here's a pivot, here's a pivot. You have to wait for a pivot to develop on RSI and a corresponding pivot on price. So we have to see at least one or two red candlesticks and a clear pivot to develop on price before we try and identify divergence. That's one technique I've developed over the years to filter out those times when you see potential divergence and it just disappears and would have put you on the wrong track if you paid attention to it. It will often do that, so I'm not considering this divergence because there's no pivot. Money flow also is neutral, so money flow is neutral. RSI only just today overbought. There's a long way to go before these get as extreme as they can get when this market has a strong bullish run, and ADX is still at a very, very early stage. This is an extremely bullish setup for Bitcoin. And finally, we're starting to see ATR increase as volatility finally returns to the market. It was just dead for such a long time, wasn't it? Well, the thing about dead markets is they will come to life, and when they do, you've got to be prepared and be positioned correctly. So I hope you were all on the right side of this one. I've been extremely bullish with Bitcoin for a long time, and it's making new all-time highs. So that makes me a very happy camper today. So if you want my Bitcoin Elliott Wave analysis, you can go to my website. The link is in the description box below, and you can get it, and you can subscribe to whichever of these 5 markets we cover: Ethereum, Bitcoin, gold, S&P 500 and US oil. Thank you for watching.